September 5th, 2012 doesn't have a lot of value for you in this room today. It's just another day for you. You woke up, you went to work, you went to class, you engaged with your friends, your families. It doesn't matter to you, but today, that day was a day that changed my life. September 5th, 2012, I woke up thinking I was going to go to UCO to work. I was going to hang out with some leadership students, see my friends, maybe go to the Nye University Center, wait in line for Chick-fil-A, who knows? Who knows what will happen this day? But instead, I got hit with a heart attack. 34 years old. I woke up and my life changed on September 5th, 2012. And during this process, which I'll share with you here in a little bit, the things that I went through made me start to reframe and rethink about leadership. My current role is leadership at this university. I have the immense pleasure to work with 200 to 240 students in our leadership programs and to engage and to help guide these amazing students that are doing unbelievable things on our campus, in our community, and in the United States and beyond. But that morning I woke up, I learned something new about leadership. And as I removed myself from that moment, that day, it became more and more apparent that I am not the center of the universe. And even though my day changed, my life changed, I had to realize that there are many things outside of me that if I want to lead, if I want to have a legacy, if I want to educate, it has to stop being about this and being more about you. That morning I woke up, like I said, I thought it was going to be any other day, and I get up and I'm thinking, all right, got to go to work. I'm not an early riser. Anybody that knows me knows that. I'm usually a night owl, and so, okay, it's probably like 7:15, 7:20. Got to be at work at 8. Get in the shower, probably not grab breakfast. And I was walking to the shower, and it just hit me, and boom, I hit my knees. And I was lucky and fortunate enough to compete in athletics in high school and a little bit in college, and I've been out of breath before. I ran the 800 in high school. Anyone that run that's the hardest race ever. It's basically called the puke race. Because you run it and you throw up. But I knew what it was like to be out of breath. This was different. This was different. And I was glad it was different, because if it wasn't different, I probably would have brushed it off and thought, I'll get to work, I'll start feeling better. Maybe it's that age-old indigestion, right? I was getting a little older. I was in my mid-30s. That stuff, starts creeping up on you. But it wasn't. And so I did the smart thing, and I drove myself to the hospital. Don't worry, my mom she's critiqued me enough. I don't need any more grief. So when I got there, by that time, I had this extreme feeling of this chest pain, and this was like someone was wrapping their arms around me. I was like, this is not normal. And luckily, I had a Blue Cross Blue Shield card, and I was up there, and I was like, I got my insurance card. Please see me. And they let me in. And 2 hours later, I'm at Baptist Integris, and I'm getting a stent put in my heart. 99% blockage. They call it the Widowmaker. And at first, after I spent some time in the hospital, and you make it through things, right? And they don't seem as big when you make it through it, right? Doctor came in and he said, you're lucky. You're very lucky. I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, like 75% of people don't make it. They don't get through this. And that's when it hit me. Maybe I am lucky. So, of course, anybody that knows me, I went through a doctoral program. I got my PhD now in political science. I have to read about all this, right? I go, okay, how lucky am I? Start looking through all this stuff, do all this research. I'm like, wow, this isn't normal. And hey, heart problems had run in my family. So I knew at some point I was going to have to address this. But at 34, again, I competed in athletics. I ran track. I was active. I still swam. I mean, why is this? But it was all genetic, something I had no control over for the most part at that point. Well, I manage it now, and I'm feeling better. But after the initial shock happened, the initial process of getting through this experience, and your parents are there, and of course they love you, and your friends are there, everyone visits, you get flowers, and I think some people in this room were there and came and said hello, and I still appreciate people that did that. You're now in the hospital alone, right? And you realize that this earth is still turning. And no matter the outcome for you that day, the earth would have continued to turn. And it would have been a sad day for your friends and your family. But for the most part, you would have gone and passed with most likely little fanfare. Man, that's humbling. Let me tell you. You sit there in a hospital bed and you're thinking about those things, And so as I thought about that, I said, I don't feel like I've not been productive. I've been engaged, and I feel like I'm really doing some things that I'm pretty proud of. And so I wouldn't, I think, pass this earth and be concerned about that. But then I thought about, how do we think about the things that I've been examining and studying and engaging with students, this thing called leadership? How do we then understand that this is something bigger than ourselves? And so I started reading and trying to find pieces of this. And of course, you have trait theory, so have integrity, be of good character. Those are things we hear all the time. But I thought, what is that thing that makes us think about the next day? What is that thing that makes us think about, okay, when I'm not here, how can I empower and grow people? What will that be? I started really looking into this idea of stewardship. And the history of the word steward is steward, which means protector of the house, guardian of the house. As I read more about it and understood it and I started thinking about this, it hit me like a brick. We're here to protect and guard our jobs and to grow our jobs. We are not our jobs. We are not even our professions. Those professions, those jobs, those things we engage in will go on after us, and someone will fill the seat that you're in. So I thought, as someone that wants to pursue and learn and engage in leadership, I have to start thinking like a steward. And so in perfect TED arrangements and talk, I'm going to give you 3 points, 3 principles to make sure that you can walk out of here and hopefully have an idea of how do we think about being a steward? How do we think about leading in that manner in all the things that you're engaged in? Whether you're a doctor, businessman and woman, teacher, whatever you end up doing. There are 3 things, 3 principles. You have to know your organization's past, but not be tied to it. You have to appreciate the things that have come before you. Appreciate those people that have lit the lights that have guided you along that way. You have to understand the history, the things that people have worked for and engaged in, whether that's institutional or whether that's social movements or whatever that is. You have to understand that there is people that have paved the way for you to be successful. But you can't be tied too strongly to that history because the world moves too fast. You've got to be able to take those principles and those values and then update them to a new world. The second one is you have to know your role and build it. It's really easy when you're sitting in an institution, a company, or even in a team project and say, well, so-and-so's got a great gig, or man, if I could only be at that position, I'd be great. If I was only this person, I would be much better at what I do. You've got to sit where you're at, engage in that position, and make it the best position it can be. You're a holding place. And the next person that comes behind you should be even more prepared and even more developed in order for that job, that role to be successful. And the third and final one is you have to imagine a future, but without you in it. You have to imagine a future, but without you in it. And how does that frame our thinking? It makes us encourage people that we know may fill those positions. You may have met that person today. It may be really obvious who the next person will come into your role. And you have to empower them. You have to mentor. You have to engage, give them opportunities. You have to make sure that when you are gone, those principles and values that your organization, your business, that you espouse, that you believe in, are then passed down. We're in a world of education here, right? You have to educate and teach and share. And when you do those 3 things, and you understand those 3 principles, you'll get the realization that I got after an experience like I had, knowing there is a finite time for all of us on this earth to say, man, this whole thing called leadership is not about me. It's about all of you. Thank you.